Welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast for another podcast. We are doing the preview for the big London derby this weekend. West Ham at home to Arsenal. Both teams different parts of the league. One battling for their life domestically for Premier League survival, and obviously Arsenal are where they are this season, top of the league, trying to mount a challenge to get hold of that title. But as you can see, I am joined by James of E20 Zone TV. How you doing? And yeah,
all good, mate. All good. Could be better, but yeah, we're all good, man.
Yeah, especially after last. I saw your game last night. I was watching your channel and all that, all your streams and all that. And just like first, I want to touch on this. Again, I've got people on my channel and podcast. They know I've got family, close family. My cousin, my granddad, my uncle, all they were West Ham fans because I was born up near Beckton. The West Ham and all that, and so I've always got a close eye on West Ham. I've always done my second team. If it weren't for Arsenal, it'd be West Ham. How has David Moyes took this team from what he took over for the last two seasons, and now you're back to where you were when he came in? I don't get it. I mean, what's it today's at the end of the year on from when you pumped Lyon 3-0 in the Europa League, and now what's happening?
For me, there's a lot that's happened, mate, over the last sort of 12 months. In regards to David Moyes, I think he's a very stubborn manager, very old school manager. He don't like to be told new ideas and new philosophies. Like for me, we've signed some really, really good players, and he just don't know how to get the best out of these players. These players ain't bad players, but they come to West Ham under his management and they become bad. That has to be said about the manager. This season hasn't gone right at all, and a lot of the fans want a fresh outlook now, and a different ideas, different approach. Like go for a younger manager, someone who's got a point to prove. For me, David Moyes ain't going to get a better job than West Ham, and he's hanging by like a thread at West Ham, really. And you know what? If we can get out this season, stay in the league, which I do think after the previous results that we've had over the last sort of 3 games, I think we can. We need to get rid of him in the summer and bring someone else in who's a younger and fresher manager for me.
Yeah, in terms of relegation, I know you're there. I mean, I said at the start, you're down there scrapping, but there's like four or five worst teams at the moment, form-wise, that you should be fine with. But Leicester being one of them, Southampton, Bournemouth are hitting with 1 minute they're good, 1 minute they're bad, and Everton, as I chuck on hard, they'll be good at home, a couple of ways. So you need a goal scorer. With David Moyes, it just seems he put so much reliance on Antonio over the last couple of years. And now you've brought in, like you say, Skamaka and other players as well. He doesn't know what to do because you don't want to upset Antonio, but at the same time, you do need to move on from him because he's 31. Come to the end of his time as well, so you do need to sort of get rejigged now before it's too late. And this is the season where it's sort of shown that. And then obviously one of your owners passed away just start of the year and all that. So I think that's been a bit of a with Sullivan in terms of David Sullivan wanting to dig his heels in now. But I was saying after boxing because when we played with Boxing Day, I was like, I didn't see him lasting this long in terms of David Moyes. I ever thought, but then obviously with what happened with Gold and all that at turn of the year, I think that's sort of helped him stay put because obviously don't want to rock the boat too much upstairs. I mean, what are your thoughts on the owners? Well, Karen Brady and Sullivan. Because obviously goals no longer there.
For me, I don't want to get you demonetised, so I won't go too heavy on it. I don't like the owners, and I haven't done since we've left the Upton Park. For me, do you know what I mean? For me, I feel if we change the owners, we change a different aspect of West Ham United. Like I think the owners are holding us back. I think they've done the best that they can do, but they can't do no more, and they can't do any better than what they've done, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? They're not very nice people, and for me, I look at the owners as a big problem. The owners, the only reason why David Moyes is here is because of David Sullivan, in my opinion. I see a lot of people saying about Moyes, getting Moyes at the door and everything. And listen, I'm with him 100%. But at the end of the day, the person who's keeping David Moyes in the job is David Sullivan, and no one is really going at David Sullivan at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of obviously Sullivan and most recent and formerly Golden, they came in as a partnership all them years ago. It was to steady the ship because he was going through that stage where you had an owner, then it was a different owner, and it was just like they weren't financially stable, and it just screwed you up massively on and off the pitch. They came in to stabilise it. They got you. They decided to move. I don't get because I'm a man that I don't get why they had to move you from the bone in. There's no need for it in that sense. It's just more. It's more to stay. It's not even like you own the stadium. It's like you're renting it. And then what? That's obviously the years down the line, obviously. But there's always controversy with these guys, and I think they thought their heads were they got their heads up neck out the woods or whatever, and thought because of the last couple of seasons where David Moyes has sort of turned things around after Pellegrini. That we'll be fine now. I think it's settled down, and then this season's come along. It's back to square one again because they got cocky, so I was saying, from my perspective, on the outside looking, and they got sort of cocky and thought, everything's okay. We don't have to do too much. Player here, player there, and when things haven't worked at the start of even straight from the day one of the season onwards, this has dug their heels in terms of even when David Gold was obviously about at the start of the season. Just dug their heels in. I'm asking the question: is it down to the fact he got into a semi-final last year in Europe? Is that the banquet he's got?
For me, he's getting a lot of credit for that, but that shouldn't be justifiable for.
Oh no, it shouldn't be because West Ham's again. Because I was born in that area. I've got family, as I say, you've got West Ham fans. I know what West Ham's all about, and it baffles me sometimes. And as I say, I don't want West Ham to go down. I really don't, and I don't think they will go down. It's just they do need to move. David Moyes says he does need to move on. He needs to accept what it is. His career's come to where it has done. Just to go off gracefully, you need a young blood in, someone that's going to take you on from what he built over the last 2 years previous. But take you to another level where you start ending that trophy drought as well. Because
I think personally, what it is with a lot of West Ham fans, including myself, is we've seen it so good over the last 2 years, and we've gone back to being the team that we always was, sort of thing. That team that was in the bottom half, always sort of flirting with relegation. And I think a lot of West Ham fans now have looked at it and thought we've moved from the bowling to Stratford. We're in a big ground. We're spending quite decent money in windows, like transfer windows. We shouldn't be there anymore. And I think when they look at it, they go, "This is not acceptable." And the only reason why it is acceptable for the owners is because David Moyes is cheap. He's a cheap manager. He's a cheap manager. They ain't going to go out and pay out more money for another manager when they can just keep this man here, and all he's going to do is do his job, which is keep us in the league. If we win the conference, then so be it. I think at the moment, if we don't win the conference this year's been a complete write-off, in my opinion. I think with the conference still there, I think we've still got a chance of having a good season, but not a great one.
Yeah, I was reading a comment here from Tom, who's a Leeds fan himself. He said, I don't think it's a coincidence that Leeds and West Ham's best recent seasons occurred when there was no fans in the stadium. Fans in the stadium last year, you came sixth, and you got semi-final. So I think that season outside was like the lockdown season, as I called it. I think that sort of helped David Moyes settle things down, because I remember going into that season, because we had you guys second week of the season in the lockdown season. And there was actually rumours like hours before the season got underway that Moyes was on the verge of being sacked and all that, and out of nowhere, he had this amazing season with all due respect to West Ham, and then obviously everyone expected him to fall off last season. They didn't, and it's come back this season. It's a bit, but again, like you say, it's like you've moved to stadium, you've been promised the earth. You expected again, the players you bring in aren't what you've associated West Ham in years gone by in terms of just running the mill. They do from the Championship or whatever. These are established European players and all that, like Skamaka and all that. I mean, it goes up, as you say, you said at the start of the podcast, it goes to show that the main issue is that David Moyes can only work with a certain calibre of player. anything an upgrade to that, he seems to struggle. Because I said this about David Moyes in his Man United days. That was a huge risk, huge upgrade from Everton to Man United. We saw what happened there, and we're seeing it again in terms of upgrade players to a level above him, and he doesn't know how to get the best out of them, and that's concerning. And then the thing is, if you were to get rid of him in this season, no matter what, who would you then bring in? Who do you trust Sullivan to bring in now?
Personally, there's loads of names out there. Like the first name, there's a few lads that are out there that are good up and coming managers. There's a man out in France, Will Steele, who's I think would be ideal for West Ham. I think he works well with younger players. Michael Carrick, he's an ex-West Ham player. He's doing very well at Borough. Or I think we should go down that model. If you want to go with someone who's a bit more experienced, who's done it recently, who's just left his job, is Graham Potter. I think Graham Potter would be ideal for West Ham in regards of like developing players, the budget that he would use and players that he would sign. There is loads and loads of managers out there, but if we've got the owner who insists on keeping the manager cheap and cheerful, then you're just never going to succeed. My problem is when I look at the owners of West Ham United Football Club, I don't see no ambition. I don't see any, like, West Ham should be a top 10 side. I'm not saying a top 6 side, because, listen, the top 6 are well more financially stable and advanced than us. Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with us getting top 10 every year. And we should be aiming for that. Like with the ground, with the history of West Ham, with the players that we have produced over the years, West Ham should be a top 10 side every year, really. Obviously, you can have years where it ain't going to work out. Don't get me wrong, but we all know that. But we've got to be more consistent. And I see something today, funny enough, on TalkSport with Moose Ian Abrahams, and he was saying about he wouldn't be bothered if West Ham got relegated but won the conference, and that to me is the wrong class of mentality. I want West Ham to stay in the league, and I want West Ham to win a trophy. People seem to think it's either or. And it shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't.
It really shouldn't. Because look, that happens. You're then next season in Europe, in the Europa League, but you're in the European Championship, which is a hard league to get out of in the first place. Game in, week out as well. It's kind of thick and fast. It's not going to be easy to maintain that. And then to add to the equation, you've got players on big contracts that you're going to have to let go on loan or sell in the summer. Otherwise, I mean. Just touch on all because we've been again since January. We've been heavily linked with Declan Rice. Ideally, you need to stay in the league to get the price that you want for him from either Arsenal or whoever in the summer. I mean, what's your thoughts on Declan and this similar your perspectives? You do see him week in, week out this season. What's been your perspective of Declan?
Declan Rice is a world class player, mate. And I'm saying it as a West Ham fan, and people might say, "Oh, you're being a bit biased because he's a West Ham player." But he is. He's a world-class player. He will leave in the summer. I think West Ham fans have come to terms with it. West Ham are preparing for the Declan Rice leaving West Ham United Football Club. The difference is now is we want to go out on a high with him. He's an excellent player. Anyone who picks him up, whether it's Arsenal or Liverpool, whoever pays the money, which I think is justifiable in my opinion. You're getting a player who gives it 100%. He's a captain. He's good in both boxes. He might not score many goals, but if you buy Declan Rice to a specific role, i.e., if you said you want him to be your defensive midfielder for your team, I think you've got one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League. And for me, he's only young. He's 24, so you're going to get at least another a good 8 years out of the man. So, it's a shame. Obviously, but all good things do come to an end. And listen, I think every West Ham fan will clap him out the door. He's a top lad. This season hasn't been great though with Declan in regards to West Ham. I will say that. I've seen Declan Rice a lot better in previous seasons, and this season's been very bitty. Whether or not it's because the team's just not been playing well, or the team there's a lot of in-house rest with Moyes, I honestly don't know. But when he does go, he's going to go for a hefty fee, and I think it's justifiable, really, because I think he's a top-class player.
Yeah, I think Do you think part of his form's come down to that being that World Cup back in November, December, sort of slap bang in the middle of it, sort of took away a bit of what he could have got at West Ham? That's that distraction there.
Yeah, he's there's been a lot of distractions at West Ham behind the scenes, like deep down, and I think he hasn't got Mark Noble there anymore. Like Mark Noble was the captain of West Ham, and he used to look after like situations. And Declan now has had to take on everything. So yeah, it has been a bit of many distractions at West Ham. I must admit that he's had to deal with at such a young age.
No, and I think that's sort of made him the player that he has done. It sort of made him more mature. And again, he said he's 24, so to have that maturity level and have someone like Mr. West Ham from your perspective and Mark Noble's help him behind the scenes when he was playing, as a guide him and get him to that level says a lot. And that's one play that David Moyes hasn't so far, touch wood, hasn't ruined. But yeah, it's at least I'm just thankful he ain't going to Chelsea. He won't be going to Chelsea. There's no way in God's green earth. I know he's a Chelsea fan and whatever, but they're not in Europe. They're not going anywhere soon, in a good sense. It just makes more sense to come to somewhere, be it Arsenal or Liverpool or wherever, that's going to be achieving something that's an upgrade to, with all due respect to West Ham in terms of competitiveness, because otherwise you may as well, again, not being disrespectful, but stay at West Ham and try and build a legacy there, like Mark Noble did. Because Mark Noble, he was a good player. He was a good player in his heyday. He was one of the best in the league for his position. So, yeah, I mean, I've got a few comments in the chat. Sorry. How are you feeling about Sunday night? Obviously, you had your game last night. I saw you, again, as I said, I saw your shows and all that, and you're all disappointed, and rightly so, because it is, with all due respect, it's game. You should, second team or first team, should have been winning that game, with all due respect. But with Sunday in mind, is that a free hit, or is that a must win? You've got to get down points on the board.
I'm going to be honest. After last night, when I see that team sheet last night, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Really, sort of what light that team was in there again. I think, me personally, I think last night was a dress rehearsal for Arsenal on Sunday. I think the tactics he was setting up last night will be the same tactics that he implements on Sunday against Arsenal. I wasn't happy last night, obviously, and I looked at it and I do fear for Sunday. Like, I've been talking to many Arsenal fans this week, doing stuff on different channels, and it's either West Ham are going to turn up and put in a performance for the season, or Arsenal are just going to go straight through us and score 4. It's either or. West Ham are a weird side though when it comes to this. Obviously, I've watched West Ham all my life, and I'm 36 years old, and I'm not going to lie. West Ham seem to turn up when they least expected to turn up. Like they always seem to sort of, it always seems to be against the top side. And if a top side's competing for something, West Ham usually turn up and put in a good performance. Sunday's going to be interesting because obviously, if we lose the game, then fair enough. But we don't want to be getting hammered, because obviously in the space of a week we will have Hughes, we will have Ghent, and then we will have Bournemouth. Now, do you know what I mean? Which is a big game towards the back in the next week.
I get that. And again, to be fair, since David Moyes took over from Miller Green, I think one of his first games was when Declan Rice scored that winner, wasn't it, under Unai Emery?
Yeah.
In the early days of his second reign, so to say. So he has had a habit since he's come back of making this fixture, home and away, difficult for Arsenal. But do you think the tactics he's employed last night, do you think they're going to have any use against us, like the way Arsenal have been playing this season? Especially when I think he's set 5 minutes of last week's at Anfield.
Yeah, I think he's setting up in a defensive way against Arsenal on Sunday. I think he's looking at going to 5 at the back, wing backs, and trying to nullify the three attackers for Arsenal. If we go 4-3-3 against you, we're getting destroyed. Because man for man, you're better than us. Yeah. If he tries and goes down the 4-4-2 route that he went the other day against Fulham, then we're getting destroyed. So it only points to one thing, which is 5 at the back with wing backs. And I do think last night's game was a dress rehearsal for Sunday's game. I think Sunday's game is a free hit to a point, but whatever we get is a bonus at the end of the day.
Yeah, because as you say, you don't want to get thumped and have the morale kicked out of you ahead of next the second they get at home and then Bournemouth. Is Bournemouth at home or away?
Away.
And yeah, they've been picking up form at home all my days. Yeah, so we've probably come at the worst time for you, haven't we? Worst time possible, really.
I think it's a weird one because last night I was expecting West Ham to turn up with a strong side, like a lot stronger side, different formation, and I was expecting West Ham to beat again over there last night, and because they didn't, and the team he put out, it just leans more towards that he's looking towards the Premier League game. But if I'm honest, I don't know what he's going to do. If I'm being honest.
But yeah, even then, you look at it. Like he's set up tactics for a group of players. He's not going to really use against us. If anything, he should have used the players he's going to use on Sunday. Then but again, that's David Moyes who doesn't do things by the book. Who do you think is going to start anyway for Sunday for you guys? Fabianski's out again. I'll touch on him because this season his form this season has shown signs of his Swansea form for his last season at Swansea, like vulnerable, leaking goals left, right, and centre, not letting goals in he shouldn't be letting in, and just being calamity like he was at Arsenal back in the
day. For Sunday, team wise. If we go 5 at the back, then I can see Fabianski in goal. For me, Fabianski's, you just said it, he's very inconsistent. 1 minute he's good, very good, and then 1 minute he's absolutely awful. So I think he'll go back in goal. I think left wing back, will be Emerson. I think right wing back will be Kafal. I think Aguerd plays, Bonner, and Zuma. I think that will be the 3-man defence. I think what it is with Bonner, he's slow, but his positional play is excellent, and I think Aguerd and Zuma have got the speed to sort of deal with anything. Midfield, Declan will play. Paqueta has to play in this game. Like, there's no two ways about it. He played last night, and he was quite decent. Thomas Souček could play in this game. He shouldn't be playing this game, but he probably will do. So it'd be probably a 3-man midfield of Rice, Souček, Paqueta. Then up front, it's going to be either Antonio or Bowen, or Antonio and Ings, or Bowen and Ings. It's one of them combinations. I can see a 5-3-2 in this game. Really can.
I mean, again, you mentioned Souček there. He shouldn't be playing, and again, he's another one this season that's dropped off a cliff in terms of first couple of years he's been at West Ham, been by far one of your best players, and that midfield engine and all that. And then I don't know if it's because he's comfortable or I don't know. He's just fallen off. He's completely fallen off a cliff. It doesn't look like the Souček we've all come accustomed to in the Premier League with West Ham. He's not scoring. He's not even scoring goals with set pieces enough. He doesn't know the threat.
He's not been good, mate. If I'm honest, I think what it is. I think where the teams have played West Ham, they've looked at us and they've gone, right, we can't really get round Declan. Declan's very good on the ball, good passing range, pretty good at everything with Dec, But Thomas Souček isn't, and they know when teams are sort of looking at us, they go, anytime Souček's got the ball to feet, you need to press on him straight away, and that's what they've been doing. And it's become a bit of a problem with West Ham now. That's why Paqueta is in there as a 3-man midfield. But yeah, again, it goes back to David Moyes. He picks Thomas Souček multiple times, and I don't know what he sees, if I'm being honest. Like, there's players in this team who could play in that position where Souček is playing, but I think Moyes tries to use Souček as his Fellaini, like Mariano Fellaini type player. It just doesn't work in this modern day, in my opinion.
No, clearly it doesn't. And it's just it must be frustrating for you guys to see it week in, week out, and just point out the obvious, and David Moyes has been stubborn as anything. I mean, I don't know what else to say in terms of trying to give you some sort of confidence, because we've had this is another thing that goes against it goes against you guys on Sunday. We've had a whole week to prepare for this. We've had no distraction in terms of European football because obviously got knocked out the last round. But I think I said at the time it could be a blessing in disguise. Yours made a day later. I said, you know why it was, because otherwise it would have been Liverpool, then Turin last night would have been, and then playing you guys away. It would have been an absolute fitness dilemma. Literally, we've had players left, right, and centre dropping out today, more likely. But I know we obviously. When I say drop points, I don't know until the end of the season in terms of dropping points and how that will affect you having the league. But we've had this whole week to prepare for this. Have that pain of dropping points and then coming to you guys, and then we know.
Hello.
We're back. Can I hear you?
I can hear you. I can't really see you though. That's it, going.
I don't know what's up good, but yes. Yeah, I was just saying that literally. Our players Martinelli's in hit form recently, scoring goals or assisting goals. He's usually starting to score after he's come back from 3.5 months out from knee surgery. Saka been Saka this season. No player comes near him in Premier League in terms of his consistent performances and how he's been in general. Basically, we've got midfield apart in Granite. You've seen this season the partnership between them has shored up, and we look solid as a rock with them two in the pivot. And we've got Zinchenko or Tierney playing on the left back for being more like Zinchenko. Ben White he's become arguably the best right back in the league, not just England but in the league. Gabriel Saliba would be there, but obviously he's coming back from back injury. He's got Rob Holding, who scored against you guys last season as well. Both of them scored against you last season at the corresponding fixture. And we've got Ramsdale, who put in an absolute storm of a performance. Again, confidence-wise, performance-wise, going by what I saw West Ham from them last weekend as well, I don't see how West Ham get out of this unscathed. And that's, again, I know this is maybe trying to give you some sort of confidence here, but I don't know, because it's just... I'm trying to think. I can't see it. It's not I can't see us finding any sort of weakness for you guys. I mean, Danny Ings, what's he going to with that back line? Even with Rob Holding in the defence, is Danny Ings and Antonio's done nothing this season. Let's be honest, there compared to these last couple of years, I don't see what the only one that's going to cause any threat. Maybe is Bowen in terms of our defence, but
I think on Sunday, I think what West Ham are going to try and do is they're going to try and weather the storm for about an hour. I think they know Arsenal are going to come out the traps early. I think they know that Arsenal are going to be fresh and firing and ready to go. For me, if we can get to the 60th minute mark and we're still in the game, I'll be happy. But there is players that didn't play the other night that should be playing on Sunday. Like Paqueta should play on Sunday. He's one. I think Antonio starts. He's another one. I think Antonio against Rob Holding will be interesting because, don't get me wrong, if Saliba's in there, it's a bit of a different story. I think Rob Holding in there, I think he could be a little bit of a weak link. But I think West Ham are going to try and sort of suffocate Arsenal in a way to stop the balls over the top, down the sides for your pace merchants. Like, you know what I mean? People like Martinelli. When I watched the game against Liverpool the other day, Martinelli down that side with through balls, against a 4 is very, very deadly. I think if Moyes goes to a 5, West Ham are going to have wing backs there to sort of stop them. So Arsenal will have to go through the middle of us, which will be even more congested. You know what I mean? If you've got 3 central defenders, you've got Declan Rice there, you've got Paqueta there, you've got a lot of traffic to get through. I'm not expecting anything at this game. I'll be honest. Like, if you said to me at 5 o'clock on Sunday that West Ham have lost a game 1-0 or 2-0, I'll go, all right, fair enough. Like, I'm not expecting anything. But the one thing I will say, West Ham do like to turn up when we least expect it. And it's just one of them ones.
It's always against us for some reason. I don't know why. The last time at Highbury, you turned up out of nowhere and done us over.
Yeah.
The first thing to beat us at the Emirates. and every now and then you just randomly turn up and beat us when you're in poor form.
It's a mad one, really, with West Ham, because this season, if someone said to me right now, what's the best game you've seen this season, I really couldn't really tell you, mate. Like, Nottingham Forest, people will say we beat them 4-0, but for 70 minutes we were poor, and then the floodgates opened, we scored one, and it was bang, 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 and it was over.
Plus you're at home to Forest, you're at home, you're the home team. So.
Yeah. But other than that, I really can't remember a decent game West Ham have put in a decent performance this year to say, you know what, from start to finish, we've had a good go.
Even Chelsea at home?
Chelsea at home was okay, but we could have easily been 3-0 down in the first 15 minutes. I honestly do think he's setting up in a defensive way to nullify Arsenal. He's going to try and suffocate the situation on Sunday. If Arsenal score early, Arsenal score 4.
Floodgates.
It's as simple as that.
Floodgates will open, yeah. If we score early in the first 15, 20 minutes, that's it. Floodgates will open. Our confidence will be high. Even though you're at home, the players' heads will drop because of the situation you're in the league. Fans in and around the stadium will probably have a kick-off as well as they start flooding in, and that's going to get messy as well. Who was it you recently played? And literally the stadium was very much empty by the time the whistle went.
Newcastle.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. That was it last week, wasn't it? Literally.
Yeah.
It was like 1-0 at one point, and then 2-1 at one point. Looking back to get back into it, and it just fell apart. And then I saw the images of the crowd. The stadium was pretty much empty for the last 20 minutes or so. And then who did stay basically just made their voices heard and said this ain't good enough and booed the life out of the team and all that. And I get in a sense because of what David Moyes done last season and the season before in terms of taking from where they inherited and overachieved and getting them that Europa League spots for the last 2 years and Conference League this season. I get the frustration because he's given you guys hope of pushing on in the right direction for once. And in this season, it's just like back, as you said earlier, like back to reality, like what we've always been, like that mid-table in and around the relegation, that's just about surviving and things like that. I mean, you mentioned the Conference League earlier because when was the last time you won was it against us in the FA Cup back in
1980?
1980, yeah. My mum keeps mentioning that because my mum again, talking about my dad and all that. My granddad, he took him to my uncle and my mum to that final as well. So they were there in the West Ham end and all that. Trevor Brooking. Do you think possibly that David Moyes from day one this season has seen the Conference League as a way to end that trophy drought?
What it is, it's a very tricky situation at West Ham in regards when people say that to me about the Conference League. If West Ham go and win the Conference League and finish 12th, it's been a good season. Do you know what I mean? It's been and that's the mad thing about it. If West Ham do go and win the Conference League, they get Europa League next year, and they stay in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The problem is that the football this year that papers over the cracks of what's really going on behind the scenes. Like the game against Fulham the other day was absolutely dreadful. I mean, literally, it was so bad, it was frightening. And
what's the highlights?
it wasn't even worth really like wasting like 3 or 4 minutes of your time. Do you know what I mean? And I think West Ham have been, the expression I like to use is blagging it. I think they've been blagging it for a long time, West Ham, and I just hope the Newcastle game woke them up to say, you know what, we've just got to grind this out. Even when we play you on Sunday, I expect West Ham to be on the counter. I expect Arsenal to come forward to try and score. I expect West Ham to suffocate the situation and try and play balls over the top, down the sides for our fast players like Ben Rama, Cornet, Bowen, Antonio, etc. West Ham will give it a go on Sunday, but I'm not confident at all that West Ham are going to get anything out of this game. Best I can see West Ham getting out of this game is a draw. West Ham won't beat Arsenal on Sunday. I'll be unbelievably shocked if West Ham beat Arsenal. Just the way we're playing at the minute.
How much count and again, there's no dig at anything, but obviously, if up in the title race, if we lose to you guys, I mean that We might as well give City the title there and then, because literally there was no comeback from us, really. There'd been no way, no wiggle room, really, and we don't deserve. We wouldn't deserve it on Mary in that sense. And especially we see Newcastle did what they did the other week, and they've not up till then not been exactly all that form wise and goal scoring wise. You just give them a new lease of life, and they're back at it again.
I think the Newcastle game, just to say about the Newcastle game, I think the Newcastle game sort of, it looked worse than it actually was, if that makes sense. It was bad, don't get me wrong, but
it's mistakes, it's individual mistakes that led to the goals.
There was about 4 individual mistakes there, like stupid mistakes, like Fabianski, Aguerd, like poor defending. But I just don't see West Ham give it. Like for me, I can see West Ham losing the game on Sunday, but I don't see West Ham getting hammered like they did the other week. I think he might have learnt his lesson from that. I think I just see a 5 at the back. I just see defensive structure to say come and break us down and do your best basically. That's the only thing I can see.
Yeah, I get that, and I think that's the only way Moyes sees that he can get anything, because it's not like it was last year. We were both going for we're both at that time going for Champions League. You was in the semi-finals at that time as well for Europa. Yeah, it's different. Obviously, you're fighting for survival, like staying in the league. Stats keep some sort of confidence going as well for Conference League as well. Because who do you get if you were to get through on Thursday? Who do you have in the semi-finals?
Anderlecht are 2-0 up against AZ Alkmaar.
Okay.
If Anderlecht do go over to Holland and don't lose, then we're going to have them in the semi. We've played Anderlecht twice and beat them home and away. So but it wouldn't surprise me if West Ham just don't turn up on Thursday.
Was that the group stage as well?
Yeah, group stage, yeah.
So at least got some sort of know-how what to expect and all that as well. So So again, I hope West Ham do win the Europa League or Conference League, whatever I can call it. But it's a trophy. At the end of the day, it's a trophy. But either way, as a neutral, I have to say that I think Moyes does have to go no matter what. Come May 29th, hand in his resignation and go, I've took it as far as I can. Someone else needs to come in and just, as you say, go for a Michael Carrick or someone of that ilk. If we're going to go for young blood and someone that knows the club and can use that, or Graham Potter that uses the young players and the academy and all that. Because that's what, again, West Ham was famed for their academy players back in the day. And I think that someone like Graham Potter or Carrick could bring that back, giving these young players a chance as well. And I think you just need a new pair of eyes and ears and a mouth in there that the players are just not bored of that. It's new, it's fresh, and they're excited to work with day in, day out. But got Stefan going for 2-0. What's he going? He says 2-0 is still a precarious lead against AZ. AZ are a decent side, but it's and that 2-0. We'll see. We'll see, obviously, but as I say, as it stands, it's going to be that's their opponent as it stands if they get through on Thursday. They're at home on Thursday as well. What time's that? 8 o'clock kickoff as well. So you'll be covering that on your channel as well, won't you?
Yeah. That'd be interesting, especially if we don't get through.
I'll be there for moral support in the chat. Be like,
100%, mate.
Oh, dear. No, I don't know what else to say really, but I mean, what in terms of summer, in terms of we mentioned Declan Rice and all that, who else do you think needs? Who do you think needs to leave in the summer, player wise? Let's just move on and pull you back.
What it is, there's a lot of players at West Ham who just are stealing a bit of a living. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The players we've signed, they are very, very good players. Under a better manager, I think you get a better Lucas Paqueta, a better Gianluca Scamacca, etc.
Yeah.
Antonio needs to go. Like he's been here 8-9 years. He's been a good servant to West Ham. He's the highest West Ham goal scorer in the Premier League. I think he needs to go for his career, and I think we need to go in a new direction. There is other players in there. Ben Johnson, for me, it's just absolutely terrible. I think there's other players in there who you could give another year to, but they're on their last legs. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
West Ham need to just come out and start looking at younger, fresher players, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, the Championship isn't a bad league to go and get these younger players. Like, you've only got to look at people like Jude Bellingham, who've come out of that league.
Yeah.
Even Ivan Toney, like them sort of players have come through the Championship ranks. And also, if you go and get a Championship player, you've got a player that's got a lot to prove. Do you know what I mean? So he's not there for the millions. He's there to prove that he's a Premier League player, basically.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I think. Yeah.
You look at Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney came from like League One, non-league, and had to build his way through. Jamie Vardy as well when they came up with Leicester. I mentioned this. I've mentioned this a few times on the channel over the years. When the first year or so, don't know what happened there, but hopefully it comes back. Don't know what happened there. For the audio listeners, the James has sort of that somehow disappeared off the screen. Oh, say that. It's back in place now. 1 sec. There we are.
Sorry about that. That's my bad.
No, I can't remember what I was saying there, but basically, it's just got. It's about about doing what Arteta's done as well. But I was always talking about Klopp. Obviously, when he came Liverpool, he signed, was it Mane from Southampton? Trying to think. Andy Robertson from Hull just been relegated. Ronaldo from Newcastle just been relegated that year. They even though they've been at them clubs, he gave them the belief and the faith that they would come in and had the hunger to prove themselves at the higher level of a club like Liverpool. And sort of Arteta's taken on that mantra, sort of again, sort of George Graham-esque from an Arsenal point of view. When George Graham came in back in 86, 87, he came in, got rid. There's a lot of clicks, I say, like players getting overpaid for the service they weren't providing really back then as well. Got rid of them, brought in young, fresh blood via the academy or outside it, up and down the country, be it Lee Dixon, Winterburn, David Seaman, Bold, Wrighty, etc. And because they're coming from them clubs respectively, and they're going to a more established, bigger name club, he got what he got out of him. We're seeing it now with Arsenal, where obviously Ramsdale came with us back-to-back relegations with Bournemouth and Sheffield United. Everyone, including myself at the time, was questioning like £32 million for backup to Leno. Turned out to be the absolute making of us. And actually, again, the hunger and the desire to want to prove himself and show that he wasn't, that the relegations he'd faced hadn't defined him as his career. Oh, keep popping and going. And then obviously you've got Saka, you've got Martinelli, you've got Odegaard who comes in a year late after signing him officially. You've given him the armband. You've got you've got the experience of Thomas Partey, Zinchenko, Jesus. But they all want to prove themselves. And I think West Ham, not just West Ham, but I'm just using also we're doing previewing West Ham, talking about West Ham itself. West Ham we need to go down that route under this ownership or new ownership, whatever that may be. They need to go down that model because it's proved to work.
I agree.
You need the right people from top to bottom. It's all well and good getting a manager in that wants that or wants to do what Arteta's done and things like when Arteta came and wanted to do what he had that plan set out in his head. But you need everyone upstairs in the boardroom and all that to go, yeah, if you want this person, no problem. The money's no price, no matter what, we'll back you. And
I think if you went down the Brentford and Brighton route of doing things, I think them two teams have got it down to an absolute T, especially Brighton.
Yeah,
Brighton buy a lot of players for cheap. It might be a scattergun approach, but it's not. It's more of a
Yeah, and look at Leicester. Obviously, that team that won the in 2016 won the league. Kante, literally a few thousand. Mahrez, a few thousand. They sold them on for 50+ million each and things like that. And obviously, Brighton's been more sporadic in terms of they're doing it season in, season out. Matoma is rumoured to be he could be going for anything between 50+ now in the summer if he was to go. Casado signed a new deal, but apparently there's a release clause in his contract to get what they want. And again, they didn't spend a world, and that's again, like you say, I think that's the model you need to go down. But you need the right people from top to bottom in terms of the ownership, all the way down into the management, so everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet. And you don't have a Newcastle under bloody what's his name? Can't remember his name. Mike Ashley, where he's literally does the PR bullshit that we see with West Ham occasionally, and then actually doesn't back it up on when it matters. And I think this summer's going to be a big one for West Ham. No matter what happens in terms of league and your conference league and whatever, I think this is a big one. They need to make the right choice. As I say, the day after the season ends, David Moyes has to agree to leave on mutual consent and just have someone that literally go and get, be it Carrick, be it Potter or whoever, and set out a game plan in terms of get the right people in, go and hire a director of football, whoever. You need footballing men in what we have at Arsenal. If you can get ex-West Ham players, that'd be good as well, because obviously they know the club, they bleed the club, they understand what it means, etc. So then when they go into negotiations, not doing it for the sake of it, like we've done with Edu, brought him in. Again, he came from one of our probably our golden generation in recent years. Clubs need that, and I think that's a massive benefactory to us in terms of where we are at the moment. But obviously, we're all going to back things up. I mean, I do wish you luck for the rest of the season, but obviously Sunday, no holds barred. We need to win. So sorry.
No worries, mate.
But like I say, I think I said at the start of this podcast, I did say that I believe there's 4 or 5 teams worse than you this season in terms of performance-wise and form and all that. I've mentioned already Southampton. I think Southampton, Leicester were definitely gone. Southampton have gone out of last week. Leicester falling into that trap now. I think they'll go. Even under Dean Smith, that's one person I would never have hired. But anyway, that is what it is. And in the end, the last spot, even you got Leeds as up. Sorry, Tom, in the chat, you're still there, but they got pumped 5-1 after being 1-0 up at one point and dominating and just fell apart. You've got Bournemouth, Jekyll and Hyde. 1 minute they're good, 1 minute they're bad, and Everton the same thing. 1 minute they're good, 1 minute bad. It's just this. I think you'll just have enough. We've been in Europe, even though you're in Europe, out of all the teams there, that seems to be a positive distraction at the moment. That could be the positive distraction, especially when you come up, you're playing Bournemouth next week, as you said. Just to be like, we focus on this one game and then fully focus on Bournemouth. And whereas Bournemouth is just like, well, they're Jekyll or not. I just say they're Jekyll or not. I think Bournemouth might go. I think it's either them or Leeds will be that third team for me. Going by how from what I'm watching, I think, as I say, I think West Ham will be fine, but you never know, do you? Oh dear, yeah. But I hope so. So I don't want to just make it more depressed on it being a West Ham fan at the moment, but I just want to put it out there. Even though I don't want you to win on Sunday, I do wish you the best for the rest of the season. And actually, I guess, as I said, end this trophy drought as well that you've had for years, well before my time. And yeah, obviously, if just want to give your channel a shout out. Also, by the way, anyone who wants to follow James on his social media, the link is in the chat, in the description, of this video, and his channel link is in there as well. So if you want to go and give him a sub as well, feel free, and go and give him some support over there as well. But yeah, anything come up on your channel this weekend?
Yeah, as I say, like you can find me on E20 Zone TV. I've got a good bunch of lads. We're all West Ham mad, and there's many rants and discussions, and we talk football, betting, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, go and check it out. What have I got coming up over the weekend? Usual. I'll be doing an afterthought straight after the game, after the Arsenal game on Sunday, and then I'll be doing the player ratings in the evening, and we'll be talking about the game and see how well and how bad some of our players have played on that day. So yeah, do check it out.
I wonder if Ben Johnson will get a better rating than last night. I wonder.
I don't know, mate. Hopefully, I don't ever see him again in the West Ham shirt, but that's just me. Absurd. So,
Oh dear, it is what it is, though. But yeah, thanks again for coming along. Hopefully, we get to do this next. Hopefully, next season we'll do this again.
no worries, Ryan. Mate.
But yeah, if you're new to the channel as well, if you want to subscribe, it is for free. Other memberships are available as well, 99p or £2.99. And the membership levels, all the stuff, all the done for as you go through it all. Do smash that like button as well. Do share the content around, and the audio for this will be out in the next half hour or so, give or take, depending on how long download takes to do, basically. But yeah, keep an eye out for that on Spotify and all the other audio platforms as well, and do share that about as well. As I said, good luck to West Ham after Sunday, obviously. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or weekend, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you on Sunday for the big one. As always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.